Remember that on the first item, the limit of the function exists if and only if the limit of left and right both exist and equal. So when one is unequal, or should I say one is not equal to the other, or one does not exist while the other exists, then the limit will not exist. So the number 2 is a true statement. So which of the following is nearest to -4? So in this case, -4 is a number. So if this is -4 and this is -3, the nearest to -4, number 1, -4.999 is not nearest. Why? Because it is almost here. -3.999 is found on the right. However, we're looking for left. -4.001. So if this is -4, so it's here, right? And it is found on the left. While -3.001 is on the left of -3. That is why the answer is the third option, -4.001. On number 3, which of the following is the limit of h of x as x approaches? This is -3. So the first thing you need to do is to observe negative numbers. So -3, -3. So the first and second option must be one of your answers, okay? And since that is right, then it must be positive on top. That is why the first option is the correct answer. On number 4, which of the following is not true? Take note of the question, not true. The limit of the function exists if the left hand limit exists while the other does not exist. So the fourth option is very obvious. Left and right will not exist, or right exists while left does not exist. Limit should not exist. So number 4, mali ang statement. On the second option, left hand limit may not necessarily equal to the right hand. That is true. Remember that left and right may not necessarily be equal, pero pag tinanong sa yung limit of the function, kung hindi sila equal, then the limit does not exist. The value of c is the limit. In the limit is not necessarily part of the domain. So that is already explained. Hindi naman necessarily na yun ay domain, no? Remember that it may happen that the value c is not in the domain, pero nga pag nilalapitan mo yung value na yan, then there must be a particular limit, if and only if the limit will exist on left and right. On number 5, which the following is true about the given? 3, x approaches 3, so this one is a two-sided limit. Left of 3 ito. So kung -1 ito, it must be true that the right hand must also be -1. Remember that left, right, kapag equal sila, equal na rin sa two-sided. Okay, and all others are not true. On the first, does not exist, that's wrong because -1 is the limit. The limit is 1, although very obvious, it's wrong. There is no limit, wrong. Which of the following is true about the limit of polynomial functions? Remember that polynomial functions, walang restrictions, lahat pwede. Therefore, limit ng function at any value c will always exist. Exist as a term in calculus would mean there is a real value. So kapag sinabi mong it does not exist, then there is no real value, just like imaginary, undefined, or indeterminate. Real value, real numbers. When we substitute -1 on the given, -2 times the cube of -1 minus 1 is -2 times -1 minus 1. Negative and negative, we have positive. So this must be minus -1. So minus -1. So we have positive 3, positive 2, we have positive 2 plus 1 will give us 3. So the answer is the second option. On number 9, limit of left. Remember that the given function is a polynomial function. So kahit sabihin mong left or right ng anumang number, pareho lang yan kapag nagdi-direct substitution ka. Take note of that. So when we have -2 times the cube of 2 plus 2 will give us -2 plus cube of 2 is 8 plus 2 will give us -16 plus 2 is -14. Number Number 10, evaluate. So here we just do substitution. So minus 1 raised to 4 plus this one is constant, so 5 remains to be 5. And this is identity. Kung negative 10 ito, negative 10 din ito. Okay, so negative 1 plus 5 minus 10 will give us negative 11. Combine negative numbers, negative 1 and negative 10. Then add it to 5. The answer is negative 6. So which of the following is not true from the given? Number 1, P of 1 is undefined. This one is true. Kasi bawal gamitin ang 1 dito. Limit of P of x as x approaches negative 1 is 0.5. Let's prove it. So we have substitute negative 1. So negative sa numerator. 1 minus negative 1 is equal to 1 over 1 plus 1 is 2. So that is true. Limit of P of x as x approaches 1 is not equal to P of 1. That is correct. Okay? Hindi sila pareho. Kasi kung bawal ang 1 dyan, then it may happen that left and right are not also the same. So the number 4 option, limit of P of x as x approaches 1.001 does not exist. That is not true. Okay? It actually exists. Kasi ang 1.001 ay pwede namang gamitin in the evaluation. Evaluate limit of negative x over 1 minus x as x approaches negative 1. We can do just substitution negative 1. So 1 minus negative 1. So that will be positive in numerator and positive 2 in the denominator. It is 1/2. So limit of x over 1 plus x as x approaches 0. Substitute. Let x be 0. So 0 over 1 plus 0 is equal to 0 over 1. That is 0. Remember that when the numerator is 0, then automatically 0 na magiging quotient, provided that the denominator is not equal to 0. The domain of the given function f is negative 2 to 9. From negative 2 to 9, how do you describe limit of the given? Limit of f of x as x approaches negative 2. Take note that negative 2 is the cutoff. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, wala siyang left. Left is not possible. Left of 2 is not possible. Right of 2 is possible because right of negative 2 and left of negative 2. Dahil hindi possible ang left of negative 2, then ibig sabihin, ang limit does not exist. Especially that ang tinatanong is two-sided. Two-sided in the sense na hindi niya tinanong ang positive or left or right. Okay? So you need to take a look at the negative. If does not exist, then function limit will not exist too. Evaluate limit of x over x plus 2 minus 4. Substitute. So negative 1 over negative 1 plus 2 minus 4 is equal to negative 1 over 1 minus 4. That will be negative 1 minus 4, negative 5. Number 16, what is the domain? Okay, this is very simple because the index is just an odd number. And what did I tell you before? When the index is an odd number, then you're dealing with domain with all real numbers. So that will be the first option. The range is also true. When that is an odd number, range will now have negative results also. Magkakaroon ka ng negative values of y. You can enjoy all numbers, therefore, when it comes to range, provided that the index is an odd number. The limit of 9th root of x plus 9 as x approaches negative 1, we can do direct substitution. Let x be negative 1, so negative 11 plus 9 is equal to 9th root of negative 2. Just bring out negative sign. Negative 9th root of 2. Next, evaluate limit of square root of x minus 6 as x approaches 6 from the left. Okay, ito crucial ito. Ang x minus 6, hindi siya pwedeng maging negative number because ang index niya is an even number. Therefore, ang x ay dapat mas malaki or equal sa 6. So kapag 6 ang critical at sinabi mong mas malaki or equal to 6, then right of 6 and including 6, yun lang ang pwede. So pag tinanong sa'yo left of 6, that will not be possible kasi ang domain ng given ay mag-start lang daw sa 6 din. all numbers greater than 6. Therefore, the limit does not exist on the left. So what is the limit on the right of 6? So when x approaches 6, at ang sabi ko kanina, domain niya ay all real numbers greater than 6 or equal to 6. Therefore, substitute square root of 6 minus 6 is equal to 0. So in here, this one is piecewise, the given function f. So we're looking for the limit as x approaches right of 1. So right of 1, ibig sabihin mas malaki sa 1. So nandito ang right of 1. So meaning to say, ito ang function gagamitin mo. And that is constant function. Therefore, the answer remains to be limit is equal to 3. The second, this is 5. And 5 is found on this interval. So ibig sabihin, magre-repeat lang. No? Constant function. The answer is 3. On the next, as x approaches left of negative 1, so ibig sabihin, nasaan ang negative 1? Nandito ang negative 1. Left or right ng negative 1? Nandito sa second subfunction. So ibig sabihin, you're going to use f of x is equal to 1 minus x. So let x be equal to negative 1. Substitute, so 1 minus negative 1. That will be 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. The answer is 2. So in this case, you're going to find the limit of that function as x approaches left of negative 2. So nandito ang left of negative 2, while here is the right of negative 2. So you're going to use f of x is equal to x minus 1 kasi napapabilang siya dito sa interval na ito. So let x be equal to negative 2 and then substitute. So the answer is negative 3. Okay, here you're going to find the limit as x approaches negative 2. Remember, this is negative 2, so this one is two-sided. So you need to check limit of f of x as x approaches left, and then you're going to check right of negative 2. Sa left ng negative 2, ito, nandito naman ang right of negative 2. So sa left of negative 2, you're going to use f of x is equal to 1 minus x. That must be x minus 1. Okay, let x be equal to negative 2. So we have negative 2 minus 1 is equal to negative 3. While the right, itong right naman, gagamitin natin ay f of x is equal to 1 minus x kasi nandito ang kanyang, kumbaga doon siya napapabilang. So substitute f of negative 2 is equal to 1 minus negative 2, and that is equal to 3. Negative 3 and 3 are not equal. Ang gusto natin, dapat equal sila. And since they're not equal, the limit does not exist. On the 26th, as x approaches negative 2 from the right, so nandito ang negative 2 from the right. Okay, so ito ang gagamitin mo. So substitute f of negative 2 is equal to 1 minus negative 2. Then the answer is 3. Okay, so this one is the greatest integer function. So kapag i-add natin ng 17.3 plus 2.1, then meron tayong 19.4. So the greatest integer of 19.4 is the whole part. Yun ang sinabi ko sa inyo noon. Just get the whole part, 19. The answer is 19. So dito naman, this one is negative and this is 200. So kunwari mag-add ka ng 1 sa, originally nandito kasi siya. So if this is negative 201, ito naman si negative 200. Negative 200. Si negative 200.1 kasi, dito man siya makikita. At ang sabi natin, it must be less than. Integer must be less than. The nearest integer less than the given number, negative 200.1. Eh dito naman kasi mas maliit ang negative 201 kay negative 200. Therefore, ang sagot is negative 201. Or sa madaling salita, if this is negative 200, so kunwari, tagalin mo ang negative sign, so add 1. So 200 plus 1, 201. And then negative sign. Here, the whole part is 0, kaya ang sagot ay 0. You're going to simplify. So, kunin mo itong dalawang ito. So in your mind, you can have negative 19.4. Negative 19. So, kunwari wala yung negative sign. 19 plus 1, 20. Then add negative sign. Yan siya. Why? Because nandito ang negative 20. This is negative 19. So, kunwari nandiyan ang negative 19.4. Then ito ang pinakamalapit sa kanya. Less than sa kanya. Okay, so 125 divided by 123. That is improper fraction, no? So, pwede siyang maging 1 and, this is 123, 1 and 2 over 123. 123 times 1 is 123 plus 2, 125. 1 ito. So, ibig sabihin, the greatest integer of the given is 1. Evaluate 2x as x approaches 0.5. This is just 0.5, okay? Ang clue naman kasi sa limit of greatest integer, basta yung value ng c ay hindi siya integer, then ang sagot will always exist. So just do 2 times 1/2 is equal to 1. 1 is the answer. Just substitute. 1/2 is 0.5. Evaluate limit of x, the greatest integer, negative x minus 2, as x approaches negative 0.5. So negative of 1/2 minus 2 is equal to the greatest integer of negative 2.5. So ito, negative 2.5. Then, pinakamalapit sa kanya, less than sa kanya, ay negative 3. Here, ang clue dito, 1 kasi ito. Okay? So, basta ang c ay isa siyang integer in the greatest integer function, the limit will not exist always. And to check that, kapag tingnan mo ang left ng limit na yan, left of 1, di ba ang x pinakamalapit 0.999, sa kabila naman right of 1, so you can have 2 times 2x, tapos x na to pinakamalapit 1.001. Hindi sila pareho. These two are not equal from each other. We can verify it. Okay, so if you're going to check that, so kapag i-multiply natin ang 2 times 0.999, ang mga madalas na lalabas, nearest to that number is 1.9999. So, ang sagot dyan, that's 1 in the greatest integer. Pero dito, pag i-multiply mo ang 2 times the nearest number to 1, ang madalas na lalabas dyan ay obviously 2. Kaya siya does not exist kasi hindi sila pareho. 1 is not equal to 2. So here on the last item, evaluate. This one is 2.5 at hindi siya integer. So pwede nating separate muna to. We have limit the greatest integer of 2x as x approaches 2.5. Tapos sa denominator naman, limit of x plus 1 as x approaches 2.5. So we're just using the basic rules of division here. Substitute lang natin 2.5 plus 1. This will be 3.5, which is equal to 7 over 2. Kasi ang 3.5 is 3 and 1/2. So 2 times 3, 6 plus 1, 7. So 7 over 2. While here, if you're going to multiply 2 times 2.5 and get the greatest integer, so ang ibibigay niya yan kapag kunin mo ang product, will give you, it gives you 5, right? The greatest integer of 5 is itself 5. Okay, so kapag i-substitute natin yan, we have now 5 over 7 over 2. Reciprocal, 2 over 7. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 over 7. That's the first option. Okay, so keep on reading, keep on trying problems. Thank you.